If there's one major mystery within the Kirby franchise right now, and one giant piece of lore, it would have to be the Ancients, the beings that came well before everyone that we know and love. And there's a lot of information that we're gaining about them each and every game, especially as we get new items and things that tie into the lore. They can kind of result and tie us back to the Ancients, and one of those mysterious objects happens to be the Master Crown. For the longest, we didn't know much information about the Master Crown. Is it sentient? Who made it, and what is its purpose? Why is Landia the keeper of the Master Crown? Well, today I have a lot of these answers that might be solved, or at least might hint at more answers, since we got in Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which adds more story to the deep lore that we've already had. Halcondra is a volcano planet with tons of factories, and seems to be filled with Halcondrans, but really nobody else, and they seem to be slaves to this factory, or at least all work in tandem in order to keep this planet running. The only leader that we have is Landia, the four-headed dragon, and on top of Landia's head, the Master Crown. The brand new description we get in Return to Dreamland Deluxe states, Landia, the four-headed guardian who sleeps in Haldera Volcano, has been referred to as the planet's protector since ancient times. So why is it awake now, and looking this way so angrily? Now Landia is talked about as the guardian of Halcondra, the one that's protecting everybody and keeping ancient relics safe. And it's been doing so for many generations, as it says it is the ancient protector. Now, how long has it been? It's hard to tell, and maybe they actually have a connection with the ancients in the first place. This could very well be one of the ancients that we see in the form of the four-headed dragon Landia, which is very interesting. But its only purpose is to protect these relics and protect everybody on Halcondra. And there were multiple relics in its hands, it seems, not just the Master Crown. As we know, one of the other ones is the Lore Starcutter, the ship that Magolor uses to travel here. Magolor has some in-game dialogue that states, I excavated this ship from the volcano where Landia dwells and repaired it, and I couldn't help but make a few upgrades before taking it out for a spin. Legend also says that this ship has a mind of its own, but I'm not for sure. But I'm hoping it will speak to me someday, if I take good care of it. We also learned that the Lore Starcutter, the Master Crown, and other objects was created by the Ancients and left at Halcondra to be guarded by Landia for some reason. Now it's unsure why the Ancients left all of their technology to a four-headed dragon, but what's interesting is the technology that allowed them to craft the Lore Starcutter and everything else that they were able to make was thanks to an incredible power. But I'll touch on that incredible power more in a second. But I want to continue to focus on the Lore Starcutter, because it is said that the thing is sentient, which is very interesting, and we actually can see a little bit of that at the end of the game where it flies away and helps Kirby and his friends along with Landia when no one's piloting the thing, and we can also see that it comes to quote-unquote play at Merry Magoland, which is pretty interesting. Now we know Magolor lied this entire time. His plan was to steal the Lore Starcutter and use it in order to steal the Master Crown from Landia, but obviously fails and brings the ship crashing down in planet Popstar. Now all we know from Magolor is he's some type of alien magician. Whether he's connected to the Ancients or not, it's unconfirmed, but one thing we do know is from his point of view, he states that he is from Halcondra, which we don't know if we should take that as truth or not because he lies about everything. But he claims to be from Halcondra, which would make sense with how he got to the ship in the first place. He then tricks Kirby and his friends to taking out Landia. The only guardian protector of Halcondra now is down. And Magolor uses this moment to pick up the Master Crown for himself, which it completely consumes him the moment he wears it. Now, why is this the case? Why did it make him more evil? Well, we know so because of the in-game description once again. Kirby's Return to Dreamland states, those who wear the Master Crown will gain power, but so will the darkness in their hearts. When Magolor transforms into his soul form at the end of the game, it states a sad shell possessed by the limitless power of the Master Crown, no more than a manifestation of the crown itself. And then one of the last quotes we learn is, the unlimited power of the Master Crown comes at the expense of the user's soul, which the Master Crown consumes. So Landia was of pure heart, that's why it was able to wear and protect this Master Crown from the evil that was out there, like Magolor, who had only intent to take this crown and rule over multiple dimensions and worlds. With Magolor's evil heart full of hatred, it allowed the Master Crown to take hold, turning Magolor into a cold husk, allowing the Master Crown to take hold of his body like a vessel and cause rampage throughout the galaxy. So it's unclear if Magolor has any say-so in any of his actions as he's fighting Kirby and his friends, or if he's already taken over by the dark evil that is the Master Crown. One thing that we do know is it seems like the Master Crown seems to be one of the most powerful devices from the Ancients, because it's able to even control the Lore Star Cutter, which is already powerful enough because it turns the Lore Star Cutter dark and murky the same way that Maglor's soul is at this point. So he's pretty much corrupting all of the other ancient technology just by using the Master Crown, which is pretty impressive. And if the Lore Star Cutter really is sentient, the Master Crown has enough power and energy to even corrupt this sentient ship, which is still pretty crazy. Maglor finally gets defeated, but his soul and form is shifted and warped by the evil of the Master Crown. You can see the evil purple swirl of the gas cloud flying around the crown in order to form this new version of Maglor. One thing you'll notice is it grows a giant white mouth that also has an eyeball in the middle. Now, we have seen our fair share of creepy eyeballs with final bosses in the Kirby franchise, but a lot of people will point out that this resembles a lot of dark matter, the ancient evil that was Kirby's original rival in the past games. Now, how does dark matter tie into Maglor and the Master Crown? Well, I'll tell you. At the end of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, the Master Crown gets shattered, and Maglor and the pieces of the crown get sent to another dimension. Maglor then finds himself at the Ethereal Altar, a weird altar in the middle of this dimension, and he's not 100% sure where this comes from, but it looks like it was ripped out of another world and placed here for a reason. But in order for Maglor to escape, he has to power himself up and collect the 5 pieces of the magic fruit in order to light all the torches for his escape. Now, towards the end of his adventure, Maglor will come upon 4 brand new Sphere Doomers, and we see them throughout the entirety of the game, even with Kirby going to another dimension and fighting these things in order to get back the pieces of the gears for the Lore Star Cutter. And we'll actually fight a Grand Doomer as well in order to get back one of the main pieces of the Lore Star Cutter. Now, of course, this would probably have to be a separate video talking about these guys, because they could just be entities within another dimension attracted to anything of power like the gears for the Lore Star Cutter, or they could be an entity made by something else entirely, because this is the first time we see Sphere Doomers at all, and it's the work of the Master Crown. If you look around this brand new rampaging Doomer, you'll see purple smoke glittering all around them. They also have brand new golden plating as their tails, and also as their horns being golden gears, and also their attacks are purple and gold smoke that explodes in the air that resembles very much the gold pieces of the crown and the purple evil that surrounds the crown. So what in the world is that purple evil? Well, after defeating all the rampaging Doomers and collecting all the fruit, Maglor is able to form the Gem Apple Seed, which then gets corrupted by these pieces of the Master Crown again. And look at the purple aura surrounding the pieces of the gold crown. What is this purple aura in the first place? I have 2 theories here. The first one being the Master Crown is actually still just a regular powerhouse, and it's being protected by Landia just in case someone with an evil intent grabs it. There's actually no evil in the crown, it's only based on the evil heart of the wearer. And one of the only reasons I say this is because when you see the pieces of the crown fly in, they have a blue trail, more of an angelic, peaceful feeling, leading Maglor onto his journey of redemption, instead of this purple evil darkness that we see it have at the end of the game. Maybe once it got into this realm, something evil was able to take over it. So maybe it was a Sphere Doomer that turned it evil, or maybe something else. Notice how this still has its blue trail until it gets close to the Gem Apple Seed, where it then starts to turn that purplish glow that we see. Is it the Gem Apple Seed that technically has evil in it? Well, it's hard to tell. The evil swarms the seed and turns into another Sphere Doomer with gold plating all over it, which once again is bringing back the Sphere Doomers. Is there some type of tie-in with the Sphere Doomers and the Master Crown, or even the Apple Seed altogether? But the Crown Doomer is formed and Maglor has to defeat it as well. After Maglor completely defeats the Doomer, it swarms the apple and then corrupts the apple itself, turning itself into a massive monstrous tree. A lot of me thinks that the Maglor evil was its own separate thing. It was because of Maglor's hate that made him turn into some vicious creature, and obviously the crown empowered him to do so, because he had an evil heart. But now I feel like the crown is being consumed by a new evil, either by the Sphere Doomers or maybe by this ancient tree that could be some type of evil tree from the past. I mean, it would explain why the ethereal altar was sent into this other dimension, and also all the pieces of the fruit were sent into different realms broken apart, as if someone tried to hide this and hoped no one would ever find it and piece the apple back together. And once again, this is a kind of out there theory, so I'd have to make a whole separate video talking about this ancient apple seed and the altar, and obviously where this all comes from, and what's the purpose of this altar in another dimension, and is there actually an evil entity within that tree of the past. But my second theory is one that sounds a little bit more on track. Maybe the ancients actually found an ancient evil and used the crown to simply seal that evil into the crown and protect it, and Landia was the only one that could keep it on its head and protect it because of its pure heart at the time, so the ancients entrusted the dragon to do so. And obviously Maglor's evil intent was able to bring back that evil to reality. Perhaps the trail doesn't mean anything. It's the evil presence that's moving the pieces of this crown and using it as armor as it infuses into anything that it wants. And now with the pieces of the crown shattered, it controls the crown. The crown doesn't control it. But overall, this theory sounds the most likely because we also get an in-game description for the versus Master Crown final battle. It states to free the tree and bring an end to the destruction, to take responsibility for his wicked ways with all of his magic infused into the sword, he must strike. Maglor must atone for his misdeeds. So not only is this the redemption moment for Maglor, but it also states that the tree is imprisoned with this evil, and it kind of shows that maybe the tree was never evil in the first place. In fact, it's just still the Master Crown's evil entity, or whatever is in the Master Crown, is consuming this tree and this apple seed, and Maglor is the only one that can free it and prevent this evil from striking anywhere else in the world. Maglor then imbues a nearby sword with his full magic power and completely slices through the tree and the Master Crown, defeating them both apparently. But the apple seed is actually spared, as we know the end. Maglor takes the apple seed to the Dream Kingdom in order to help Kirby and his friends and supply them with apple seeds in order to level up. It looks like from here, the Master Crown is officially gone. It's shattered into pieces, and whatever evil that was taking a hold of that crown seems to be defeated, at least as of now. But we know Kirby games will probably see some reference to this crown in another game. And in fact, we actually have already. Let's rewind a couple years to Kirby's Star Allies, where Kirby and his dream friends were able to fight Void Termina, the bringer of doom, an ancient evil brought back to life thanks to Highness. One of the attacks that Void Termina uses is a super powerful mega laser that shoots out of some type of object floating in the sky. It's hard to make this out because it's covered in blue light, but on the Soul Melter extremely difficult version, the light is taken off of the object and we can see that it is the Master Crown. This only seems to be a replica, so I'm not 100% sure if Void Termina is summoning a new form of the Master Crown or really just a replica form in order to use a slight piece of its power in order to fire these lasers off. But what does this mean exactly? Well, it means that Void Termina, Highness, and everybody else that associates themselves with the Ancients know about this Master Crown, which confirms that they have some type of connection with the Ancients. Void Termina was there at some time with the Ancients. As far as the Ancients go, this can go any way because we don't have a concrete game that really dives deep into the ancient lore. Highness was one of the few creatures we got of recent years that kind of talk about the ancient lore, and we still don't even know much about it. Trust me, I didn't forget. I want to clear up some things that I started talking about earlier. One theory that I've had for a very long time is that the Forgotten Land was actually the home of the Ancients, because it's the first time we see a miraculous power such as dimensional rifts being used by any creature outside of mystical objects such as the Master Crown and the Lore Star Cutter, because we see Fecto-Elfilis, the ancient being, actually able to spawn dimensional rifts, and we know the people of this planet use that technology in order to create their own devices to create their own dimensional rifts to leave this planet. So, what else can create dimensional rifts? The Master Crown and the Lore Star Cutter, two objects made by the Ancients. So to me, this kind of makes a connection with the Forgotten Land. This could be the home of the Ancients. I've got an even crazier theory for you. What if I told you the entire time when we were fighting the Master Crown, the background apocalypse that was happening was actually due to Kirby fighting Fecto-Elfilis in the Forgotten Land? Think about it. What if a lot of time actually passed and this was actually the same time Kirby was fighting Fecto-Elfilis up there in Redgar and up at Lab Discovera? That'd be so cool. Or what if this was just when Fecto-Elfilis invaded this land in the first place and eventually got captured and experimented on by the residents of the Forgotten Land? Either way, there's a lot of connections that could be made here, and once again, made for a separate video. Going back to that Ancient Evil once again, what could it be? Well, we see lots of Ancient Evil figures, but it could maybe be dark matter. The only thing kind of going against this would be is why was it still in the crown this entire time, going into Return to Dreamland when we fought dark matter way before that game. So yeah, it's hard to make that case, but there's always options and stuff to look into. I'm gonna have to look into that a lot deeper. One final connection that I wanted to talk about is Magolor and Void Termina. When you fight Magolor's soul in the true arena now, there's a lot of differences, but one of the main differences is the background's orb is actually very familiar looking to Void Termina with all the swirls around it, which could also reference that Ancient Evil being within the crown. Who knows? Lots of answers about the Master Crown, it still leaves lots of questions, especially about the Ancients. It always comes back down to the Ancients, the people who created all of these devices for these evil beings to pick up and use for their own power. The question is, when are we going to get to see these Ancients and learn more about them? Well, hopefully in the next Kirby game, it really dives deep into the ancient lore. But let me know in the comments down below if you found any other secrets or details about these theories, and let me know your theories down below, and if you agree or disagree. Just let me know, and I'll be sure to check them out. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Stop what you're doing. Make sure you leave a like and a subscribe for this crazy theory today, and I will see you all on the next one. See you guys.